Today, we're diving into one of history's most dramatic standoffs. But this wasn't a battle of armies. Oh no, it was a battle of minds. This is the story of the incredible, relentless arms race of ingenuity at the Berlin Wall.
So, let me ask you this. What does it really take to defeat a fortress? And I don't just mean a wall. I mean a whole system, a machine designed to crush the very hope of escape. For almost 30 years, that was the question facing millions of East Germans.
Okay, so first things first, let's really get our heads around the sheer scale of this obstacle. You have to understand, the Berlin Wall wasn't just some passive barrier. It was an active, breathing, lethal system of control.
At the very heart of this system was the Todesstreifen, which literally means the death strip. And here's the crucial detail. It was built entirely on East German land. So the second your foot touched that ground, you were a target. Guards had full permission to shoot to kill. It was a kill zone by design.
And the scale of this thing was just massive. What started as a simple barbed wire fence back in '61 grew into a 177-kilometer-long fortress. Just try to picture that. A monster of concrete and steel snaking through a city, all for one single purpose, to keep its own people locked in.
So why on earth would you build something like this? Well, the East German state, the GDR, they claimed it was to stop a hemorrhage of citizens fleeing to the West. But for the people trying to get out, it was about escaping a dying economy and, this is the big one, a total lack of freedom. The inability to choose your job, your home, your own future.
The wall also created this perfect, chilling partnership with the Stasi, the infamous East German secret police. For them, the barrier was their lifeblood. It was their whole reason for being. It justified their huge budget, their network of spies, their entire surveillance state. Their job was to make that border absolutely insurmountable, which meant they were in a constant state of war against their own citizens.
But what was the real cost? What happened when someone actually tried and failed? This next story is what made the whole world understand the true price of freedom on this border. On August 17, 1962, an 18-year-old kid named Peter Fechter made a run for it. He was shot. He fell back into the death strip. And then, for almost an entire hour, they just left him there, crying out for help while American soldiers, West Berlin police, and crowds of people just watched, totally helpless. The GDR guards let him bleed to death, right there for everyone to see. The outrage was immediate. West Berliners put up a simple wooden cross with just 2 words on it: "We accuse." And this was the turning point. After Peter Fechter, everyone knew. The wall was a murder machine. Just trying to run for it was basically suicide. From now on, the only path to freedom was through sheer ingenuity. And that brutal reality, it sparked an unbelievable explosion of human creativity. The fight shifted. It became a battle of wits, a game of cat and mouse played over, under, and sometimes right through the wall itself. And you can really see the pattern here, this constant back and forth. For every brilliant escape method someone dreamed up, from massive tunnels to homemade flying machines, you can bet the GDR came up with a specific, nasty countermeasure. It was a constant escalation, an arms race. Okay, so let's start underground. The question they faced was monumental. How in the world do you get 57 people across a death strip? The answer was just as ambitious. You dig. But listen, this wasn't just a few guys with shovels. No, Tunnel 57 was basically a professional civil engineering project, led by university students. 140 meters long, dug around the clock in these brutal 12-hour shifts. They even financed the whole thing by selling the media rights to news outlets. This was organized resistance on an incredible scale. And of course, the Stasi fought back. They started digging their own tunnels to try and intercept the escape routes. And even more terrifying, they brought in geophones, these super-sensitive listening devices, to pick up the tiniest vibrations from the digging below. Just imagine the sheer terror of that, knowing that with every single scrape of your shovel, the state was literally listening in from above. So if digging under the ground is a death trap, what about just driving right through a checkpoint? Well, the question then becomes, how do you hide a whole person inside a car that has absolutely no hiding space to begin with?
The mechanical genius here is just off the charts. Take the BMW Isetta, this tiny little bubble car. A mechanic named Klaus Genter Jacobi basically performed surgery on it. He re-engineered the whole area behind the driver's seat, even bending the burning hot exhaust pipe just to create enough room for his friend to cram inside, inches away from the engine and from the ears of the guards.
And once again, the state adapted. After a few super daring escapes where people drove modified convertibles under the checkpoint barriers, the GDR changed every single checkpoint. They welded on lower-hanging bars and metal spikes, making that trick not just impossible, but deadly.
Okay, so tunnels are being listened for, checkpoints are fortified, the ground is completely monitored. When the ground is being watched that closely, what's left? The sky.
This might be the most unbelievable escape story of them all. Two families with zero engineering experience decided to build a hot air balloon. In secret, they stitched together 900 square meters of fabric on an old manual sewing machine. They built a burner out of regular old propane tanks. And on September 16, 1979, 8 people, including 4 children, floated silently over the death strip for 25 minutes and landed in freedom. Just incredible.
These stories are amazing triumphs of the human spirit. But, the physical battle was only one part of this war. The Stasi's most lasting victory wasn't a wall of concrete, but the wall that they managed to build inside people's minds. And this is where it gets really dark. The Stasi's network of informants, they had one for every 63 citizens. It wasn't just about catching people, it was about destroying trust itself. Think about that. The friendly chat you had with your neighbor could end up in a file. A complaint you made to a friend could be a betrayal. This poison seeped into everything, severing the bonds of community until the safest thing you could do was trust absolutely no one.
And look, this isn't just a feeling or an anecdote. We can actually see the damage in the data, decades after the wall came down. Studies show that the more intense the Stasi surveillance was in a particular region, the lower the levels of social trust are even today. That fear we talked about, it didn't just disappear with the concrete. It was passed down, leaving a deep, measurable scar on the soul of a nation.
So after all of that struggle, all the bravery, the genius, the lives lost, the end came with a stunning, almost unbelievable irony. The wall wasn't brought down by a grand battle or a heroic charge. It fell apart because of a bureaucratic screw-up. When a confused government official misspoke at a press conference, and an equally confused border guard decided to just open the gate. And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question to think about. The physical wall, the one made of concrete and steel, it fell in a single night. But that other wall, the one built from decades of fear and mistrust, well, that's a whole different story. How do you ever tear down the wall in the mind?